everybody, I am Miss Torres.
And I'm Miss McFadden.
And today we are going to teach you how to answer thoughtful questions that will provoke your deeper thinking. So let's get started with the first question to warm up. If you had the opportunity to travel to another planet with no chance of ever coming back to Earth, would you go? Please turn to your partner and talk to them, and we'll give you 3 minutes to discuss.
You can go to whichever group you want to.
I'll go with that. Since she's alone.
I'll give you a couple minutes to discuss it.
I would go to a beach. Would you go?
It has to be another planet.
Oh,
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Planet with made out
Like, I
of
go to a beach all day long. Go to the planet.
Does the planet have to be real? Like in a solar system?
Yeah, like.
She didn't hear you.
Like a made-up-believe land.
That's what I'm asking. Does it have to be a real planet? To make up the planet?
Planet.
Planet? Okay. I would go to Mars since they say there's maybe life there. Would you?
Yeah, I was thinking of Mars too.
Hello, Alexander. Please take a seat.
Just explore.
We're in the middle of a lesson.
Right now you're thinking about an answer, but if you would go to another planet and not return to Earth, would you go? You can discuss it now.
I think Neptune would be cool. Since it's made out of ice. I guess.
Are you zooming?
A little bit.
Okay. Are we ready? Alright. Does anyone want to share? Anne?
Well, Hannah and I said absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
No, why not?
Why not?
I'd rather die here.
Well, no, because like, why would
We
you
don't
leave
know where
behind
we're going.
everything?
And even if our planet is like dying, I mean, I was born here, I'm gonna die here. So
I'm gonna stay home. Cool. How about anyone else? Anyone else want to share their answer?
No, because I like the water.
You like water? Okay.
How about you, Daniel?
I was thinking like between Mars or Neptune. It'd be nice to explore. Because I heard that Neptune has like a ice core. So I think that's cool.
Okay, cool. Anybody else want to share? No? Okay. So, today we're going to teach you about beyond the line questions. These are questions that cannot be answered with 1 or 2 words or by referencing a single line of text. So they're essentially answers to a text that require more than 1 sentence or a very long sentence.
Okay, so we're going to read All Summer Today, which is the handout that I sent out to you. We're going to read this together as a class. And to choose the reader, we're going to pull the popsicle sticks out of the cup. So Ms. Torres is going to take the first one to go, then we'll stop you, and we're going to take another.
Angelique, will you please read?
Ready, now, soon. Do the scientists really know? Will it happen today? Will it? Look, see for yourself. The children pressed to each other like so. Many roses, so many weeds, intermixed, peering out for a look of the hidden sun. It rained. It had been raining for 7 years, thousands upon thousands of days, compounded and filled with one end to the other with rain. With the drum and the gush of the water, with the sweet crystal falls of showers, and the concussions of storms so heavy they were tidal waves, come over the winds, or the islands. 1,000 forests had been crushed under the rain and grown up 1,000 times to be crushed again. And this was the way life was forever on the planet Venus. And this was the schoolroom of the children of the rocket men and women who had come to a reigning world, set up civilization and live out their lives.
Okay, thank you, Angelique. We're going to pick another reader. Hannah, can you read the next section?
It's stopping. Yes. Margot stood apart from these children who could ever remember a time when there wasn't rain. They were all 9 years old, and There had been a day 7 years ago when the sun came out for an hour and showed its face to the stunned world. They could not recall. Sometimes at night she heard them stir in remembrance, and she knew they were dreaming in remembering gold or yellow crayon, or a coin large enough to buy the world with. She knew they thought they remembered a warmness, like blushing in the face, in the body, in the arms and legs and trembling hands. But then they always awoke in the tatting drum, and endless shaking down of clear bead necklaces upon the roof, the walk, the gardens, the forest, and their dreams forgotten. All day yesterday they had read in class about the sun, about how like a lemon it was and how hot. And they had written small stories or essays or poems about it. Think the sun is a flower that blooms for just 1 hour. That was Margot's poem, read in a quiet voice in the still classroom while the rain was falling outside. Aw, you didn't write that, protested one of the boys. I did, said Margot, I did. William, said the teacher. But that was yesterday. Now the rain was slackening, and the children were crushed in the great thick windows. Where's the teacher? She'll be back. She'd better hurry, we'll miss it. They turned on themselves like a Ferris wheel, all tumbling close. Margot stood alone. She was a very frail girl who looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes and the red from her mouth and the yellow from her hair. She was an old photograph dusted from an album, whitened away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. Now she stood, separate, staring at the rain beyond each class.
Thank you.
Yeah, like I think I pressed this.
Daniel?
Daniel?
Just read a paragraph.
Okay, so what are you looking at? Said William. Margaret said nothing. Speak when you're spoken to. He gave her a shove, but she did not move. Rather than she let herself be moved only by him and nothing else. He edged away from her. They would not look at her. She felt them go away, and this was because she would play no games with them with the echoing tunnels of the underground city. If they tagged her and ran, she stood blinking after them and did not follow. When the class sang songs about happiness and life and games, her lips bravely moved. Only when they sang about the sun and the summer did her lips move, and she watched the drenched windows. And then, of course, the big crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago from Earth, and that she remembered the sun and the way that the sun was and the sky was when she was 4 in Ohio. And then they had been on Venus all their lives, and they had been only 2 years old as when the last sun came out, and had long since forgotten the color and heat of it when the way it really was.
Okay, thank you, Daniel. We're gonna pick another reader. Yeah.
But Margot remembered. It's like a penny, she said once, eyes closed. No, it's not, the children cried. It's like a fire, she said, in the stove. You're lying, you don't remember, cried the children. But she remembered and stood quietly apart from all of them and watched the fire come together. And once, a month ago, she had refused to shower in the school shower breeze. Had clutched her hands to her ears and over her head, screaming that the water mustn't touch her head. So after that, dimly she sensed it. She was different, and they knew her difference and kept away. There was talk that her father and mother were taking her back to Earth next year. It seemed vital to her that they do so, though it would mean the loss of thousands of dollars to her family. And so the children hated her for all these reasons of big and little consequence. They hated her pale snow face, her waiting silence, her thinness, and her possible future. Get away, the boy gave her another push. What are you waiting for? Then, for the first time, she turned and looked at him, and what she was waiting for was in her eyes. Well, don't wait around here, cried the boy savagely. He won't see nothing. Her lips moved. Nothing, he cried. It was all a joke, wasn't it? He turned to the other children. Nothing's happening today, is it? They all winked at him, and then, understanding, laughed and shook their heads. Nothing. Oh, but Martin whispered, her eyes helpless. But this is the day the scientists predict. They say they know the sun. All a joke, said the boy, and seized her roughly. Hey, everyone, let's put her in a closet before the teacher comes.
Rebecca?
No, said Margaret, falling back. They searched about her, caught her up, and bored her, protesting and then pleading and then crying. Back to the tunnel, a room, a closet, where they slammed and locked the door. They stood looking at the door and saw it tremble from her beating and throwing herself against it. They heard her muffled cries, then smiled. Then they turned out. Then they turned. They turned and went out and back down the tunnel, just as the teacher arrived. Ready, children? She glanced at her watch. Yes, said everyone. Are we all here? Yes. The rain slapped still more. They crowded to the huge door. The rain stopped. It was as if the mist of the film concerning an avalanche, a tornado, or a hurricane, or a volcano eruption, something had first gone wrong with the sound of apprentice, thus muffling and finally cutting off all noise, all of the blasts and repercussions and thunders. And then, second, ripped the film from the projector and inserted it in its place a beautiful tropical slide which did not move or tremor. The world ground to a standstill. The silence was so immense and unbelievable that you felt your ears had been suffered or you had lost your hearing altogether. The children put their hands to their ears. They stood apart. The door slid back, and the smell of the silent, waiting world came into them. The sun came out.
Okay, thank you. We're going to pick another reader. Marissa?
Would you like to read?
Yeah, I can. It was the color of flaming bronze, and it was very large, and the sky around it was a blazing blue tile color. And the jungle burned with sunlight as the children released from their spell, rushed out yelling into the springtime. Now don't go too far, called the teacher after them. You've only got 2 hours, you know. You wouldn't want to get caught out. Hold on, I'm scrolling too fast. Get caught out. But they were running and turning their faces up to the sky and feeling the sun on their cheeks like a warm iron. They were taking off their jackets and letting the sun burn their arms. Oh, it is better than the sun lamps, isn't it? Much, much better. They stopped running and stood in the great jungle covered Venus that grew and never stopped growing. That's a big word. Tumultuously, even as you watched it. It was a nest of octopi clustering of great arms of flesh-like weed, wavering flowers in the breeze. In this brief spring, it was the color of rubber and ash, this jungle from the many years without sun. It was the color of stones and white cheeses and ink, and it was the color of the moon. The children lay out laughing on the jungle mattress and heard it sigh and weep. Under them resilient and alive. They ran among the trees, they slipped and fell, they pushed each other, they played hide and seek and tag. But most of all, they all squinted at the sun until the tears ran down their faces. They put their hands up to the yellowness and that amazing blueness, and they breathed of the fresh air and listened to the silence which suspended them in bliss, sea of no sound and no motion. They looked at everything and savored everything. Then wildly, like animals escaped from their caves, they ran and ran in shouting circles. They ran for an hour and did not stop running.
Thank you,
And then
Marissa.
in the midst of their
Thank you, Marissa.
Okay, we're going to pick another reader. Alexander?
And then, in the midst of their running, one of the girls wailed. Everyone stopped. The girl standing in the open held out her hand. Oh, look, she said, trembling. They came slowly to look at her open palm. In the center of it, cupped and huge, was a single raindrop. She began to cry, looking at it. They glanced quietly at the sun. Oh. A few cool drops fell on their noses and their cheeks and their mouths. The sun faded behind a stir of mist. The wind blew cold around them. They turned and started to walk back towards the underground house, their hands at their side, their smiles vanishing away. A bloom of thunder startled them like leaves before a new hurricane. tumbled upon each other and ran. Lightning struck 10 miles away, 5 miles away, a mile away, a half mile away. The sky darkened into midnight in a flash.
Thank you, Alexander. Okay, our last reader is going to be Leslie. Can you just finish the page for us?
They stood in a doorway of the underground for a moment until it was raining hard. Then they closed the door and heard the gigantic sound of the rain falling and tons of avalanches everywhere and forever. Will it be 7 more years? Yes, 7. Then one of them gave a little cry. Margaret, what? She's in the closet where we locked her. Margaret, they stood as if someone had driven them like so many stakes into the floor. They looked at each other and then looked away. They glanced out of the world that was raining now and raining steadily. They could not meet each other's glances. Their faces were solemn and pale. They looked at their hands and put their faces down. Margaret, one of the girls said, well, no one moved. Go on, whispered the girl. They walked slowly down the hall in the sun cold rain. They turned through the doorway to the room with the sound of the storm and thunder. Lightning on their faces blew in terrible. They walked over to the closet door slowly and stood by it. Behind the closet door was only silence. They unlocked the door even more slowly, and then locked it up.
Okay, now that we have read the story, we're going to create our own Beyond the Line question. And just remember that a Beyond the Line question it's not a straightforward answer you can find directly from the text. It has to come from your deeper thinking and what you think about the text. Use this remote. So turn it on.
Hit the PC button. Are you using the dot cam?
Yes.
And it's not projecting?
It's not Okay, there it is.
Okay, so me and the students are going to model for you the question that we created for All Summer in a Day. Okay, so the question that we created was, why did the author describe Margot as she was an old photograph destined from the album, Wiping Away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost? Our answer that we wrote that provoked deeper thinking was, the author describes Margot as a frail and sad girl. She is the only child to have any memories of the sun because she has spent her first years on Earth where there was more sun than rain. The author compares her to an old photograph because all of Margot's memories of the Earth and sun are becoming less and less of reality for her. Margot's memories of the sun are being washed away by the never-ending rain. Now your answer and your question can be as similar or as different to this, but it has to provoke deeper thinking about what you think about the text and what the answer would be. So you guys, on the piece of paper that I gave you, blank loosely, you're going to create a Beyond the Line question and then you're going to answer it. We're going to give you 10 minutes to do this, and if you need help, me and Mr. Rice will walk around and see if you can help you.
You're doing this on your own. story brought up? Didn't show up for like a long time.
It's like it's supposed to be seasonal, right? But this is something that's much longer.
That's a good one.
Longer.
How do you Anything that is thought provoking, anything you want to think deeper about?
I put why did the teacher leave?
Pretty good.
That's a good one.
Why did the kids lock her in the closet? Because they were jealous because she had seen the sun.
Is that all you do, right?
Well, yeah, I answered the question.
Yeah, but you need to help keep it thinking. So I need you to give me like 2 more sentences of why they are jealous because she sees the sun.
Okay.
So the kids were jealous because they haven't seen the sun before. They have no memories of it, and they've only seen the sun.
I was for the first
Okay, so what do you think about?
I was gonna describe the weather that they have and then describe Margot and then there's some similarities.
Oh, that's very good.
So it's supposed to be a beyond the line question. These are questions that cannot be answered with just a 1 or 2 answer. So it's like a very thought-provoking question. So after you read the text, what kind of thought-provoking ideas or questions do you have? And then answer
Yeah, and then you only have certain
So do you know anything about the planet Venus and why it would rain there? Or just that the author wanted to make it different from her?
Yeah, I'm assuming he wants to involve like the kind of science. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Good job.
We have 5 minutes.
Marissa?
Yeah.
Did you think of a question?
Yeah, I did. I'm answering it.
Okay, good. Let us know if you need any help. You have 2 minutes. You have 1 minute.
Okay, if you're still working, try to finish the sentence you're working on, and then we'll share. Okay, does anybody want to share their question?
I'll share. So why was Margot bullied? And I wrote they were jealous of her faith. She believed in the scientists' predictions of when the sun would come out again.
That's a good one. Alright,
Anybody
anyone
else?
else? We're gonna fill out popsicle sticks.
I'm curious about photosynthesis.
How does it work on a planet with no sun?
Yet there's a growing jungle.
That's a good one.
I thought about that either. I guess because it's another planet, we're not supposed to know how exactly it works. Because we're from Earth, so it's all different.
Yeah, but we breathe oxygen.
Very true. So what did you come out with an answer with that?
I could make one up. They wear oxygen tanks.
That's good. That's a good one. Alright, anyone else want to share their thought-provoking question? Marissa.
So I had wondered why they had let Margot out after they were so mean to her. And I had answered it was because after their experience running through the sun in the jungle, and when it had started to rain, and how they had felt, how they had described Margot, they soon realized that they would never forget the experience that they had.
That's very good.
Alright, we're gonna pick one more person.
Okay, so my question was, why did the teacher leave? And I think the teacher left because she had a meeting for an emergency, which although I don't think it was right for the teacher to
Okay, good one. Good observation. Alright, so these are essentially your exit tickets. So before you leave class, please make sure to leave them with us. But so today, what we did was we answered answered the underlying questions, which are questions that cannot be answered with one or two words or by referencing a single line of text, which allowed us to think deeper about our answers and explore the possibilities of a complex question. Not all questions have straightforward or easy to find answers, and by using this strategy, you all were able to find the answer and go beyond what the story or text had stated to create a more complex meaning of the text on your own.